The illusion of hypnotic conditioning and how to remove limiting beliefs that were planted there in your head, but not by yourself. I would like to illustrate that with a small story that is not really about hypnosis, but indirectly it is leading to understanding about how hypnotic conditioning works. Back in the day, I was working in a small warehouse somewhere where you had to load the trucks, take boxes from the warehouse and load the trucks with it. And one day, one of the employees, we were like 20 people, I think, in that warehouse. One day, one of the employees talked about the cat trees, that during this afternoon we were going to have to load the truck with cat trees which were really heavy, difficult to lift from the ground and more back pain, all of that. He did not even mention that much about it, just that those were going to be heavy. Pretty soon, a kind of social norm established in the group of 20 people we were, and everyone started to say, oh yeah, we're going to be so tired because we're going to have to load all those cat trees and they are so heavy and it's going to be hurting the back. But like everyone kind of conditioned themselves to feel pain even before the event happens. And curiously, I was thinking, well, we haven't even saw or touched any of them. So how can we possibly know it is that heavy and that difficult? Maybe let's try before having a conclusion on, oh, we are going to feel pain. And just because one guy said one thing, everyone started to condition themselves to be in pain even before it happens. Turned out we received those cat trees and yes, they were slightly more heavy, slightly heavier than the other boxes we had to lift, we had to wear, but it was okay. It was not like a terrible thing either. We loaded like 5 or 6 trucks full of them and it was still fine. And actually no one was really that tired by the end. So I noticed how funny it was that most people just conditioned themselves with some negative scenarios that did not even happen yet, and the evidence for why they should be scared about this or that is an evidence that doesn't even come from them. It comes from somebody else, sometimes that they don't even know about. The guy who had talked about it, he was there for maybe 2 weeks. He was not like the owner of the company. He was just there for 2 weeks before us who had just arrived. So it was crazy. And more specifically, if we notice every time I have caught people turning themselves into complete shit in terms of feelings because of some preconceived assumption of what's going to happen in the future, I think it is always coming down to unspecified nouns, the fear linked with unknown, unspecified nouns. If you have been studying the NLP meta model, you know what an unspecified noun is. For example, cat trees, that is an unspecified noun because it is a noun, cat trees, but you haven't seen it, you haven't heard, you haven't touched it, you haven't experienced anything with that one specifically. So far it is just a noun that you don't have the texture of, you don't have the composition of what builds, what shapes this noun. And this one may seem confusing, but just think about crime. This is a crime. Same thing, if you have been working yourself in the justice system, if you are a lawyer or judge, or if you have been working in the courtroom, then you probably have more understanding of that. But most people like me who did not have to go into the court and confront lawyers, at least not yet, I hope I will never have to handle that. Most people don't really have an understanding of what a crime means. They just know it is bad, but there are many hierarchies, many criteria of different levels of crime. So if I just tell you, oh, that person is a criminal, maybe he just committed some very slight minor shit when he was 12 years old in the streets and nothing more. On the other side, we might have another criminal, but who might be a rapist, a killer, or something really way more dangerous and way more terrible. But those two people are both criminals. So when we talk about a crime, for example, one of those unspecified nouns, that doesn't really tell anything about what specifically is it about. And most people get themselves trapped mentally because of those unspecified nouns. I am scared of this political part. Yeah, but how much do you know about it? Another story to illustrate that, there was a marketer I knew of a few years ago who had been into the not illegal but kind of shady marketing through advertising. Those guys who were advertising flashy pop-up boxes and kind of pooling people's money. And what that guy was doing is not even possible right now anymore, because Facebook and all those platforms have just improved and upgraded the quality of their ads requirements. But long story short, that marketer back in the day was doing some shady things. Nothing illegal, nothing completely illegal, at least not on paper, but things that could be interpreted as being kind of illegal. And one day he came to his lawyer and he showed the whole sales funnel, the whole advertising thing he was doing, and he asked if it was okay. And the lawyer got terrified. The lawyer got like, oh, you do this? This is like financial crime. You could go into jail. At this phase alone, most people would go terribly scared and like anxious, specifically if it is a source of authority, a lawyer who's talking about it. But same thing, lawyers, there are really good ones and there are really bad ones. So just because it is a lawyer doesn't mean they know everything. But on that context specifically, the marketer asked his lawyer, wait a minute, financial crime, one of those big unspecified nouns, financial crime, boo, scaring people away. Okay, the marketer asked the lawyer, he said, can you just name me one person who did something like I do and who got literally into jail? Do you even have just one example? And the lawyer, who pretty well knew about those cases, said, well, no, nobody has been to jail, but you might need to pay a fine. And the guy said, a fine? How much? It might go up to $100,000. And he said, has there ever been a case where a guy like me had to pay $100,000? And the lawyer said, well, no, but okay, how much was the maximum amount for a case like that where a marketer or somebody had to pay as a fine? What was the maximum amount that has been recorded so far? And the lawyer, who was aware of those cases, said, well, it is about $3,000. And the guy said, dude, I am making 40K a month in revenue with that system. I'm not going to stop just because I might need to pay 3,000, even 6,000. That's nonsense. And the lawyer got confused and like, yeah, well, yeah. So not to encourage any misuse of marketing and those shady tactics, I don't encourage that at all anyway. And what he was doing is not possible today anymore anyway. But just to say, so many people get scared and just trap themselves into a very low life, basically, or like a low level of life because they are scared of what might happen. So my conclusion on that, on this whole conditioning of those big words like crime, criminality, oh, the left, the right, oh, people will do this, if I do this, if I behave that way, I will get cancelled, or whatever is the term you're afraid of, just clearly evaluate what is the evidence you have, first of all. If it is just, oh, I know one person, okay, clarify, who is that person, how close are you from that person? How can you be sure what you can do is exactly like what this person did? And if you don't even know anyone to whom this bad thing happened, then what are you scared of exactly? Fear has always been one of the best propaganda tools to condition people to obey to rules they don't want to obey to. If they are scared, even just unconsciously, it doesn't have to be something shown in your face. If you just have the implicit fear of something that might happen someday, that's more than enough to cause people to not react, stay patient, stay silent, and like turn their head down and not say anything anymore. That's how we control the masses. So whenever you have a presupposition that you can't do this, or you should not do this, or people should not behave that way, what is your evidence that bad things will happen? What specific words do you use to explain that this thing might happen, that a certain ideology is wrong, is bad, it shouldn't be talked about? What is your evidence, and what are the consequences specifically you attach to this? Some things, yes, some things you might be scared of them because you clearly know about it, you know about all the details, the facts, and some things you might be scared for reasons that you don't even comprehend, that you don't even understand. Some reasons that other people planted in your head, but it may not even come from you in the end. So the message of this video is just outline, clarify all the reasons why you think you're stuck, and clarify from all those reasons which evidence do you have for those reasons, which consequences do you attach to those reasons. Like if I don't behave that way, this bad thing will happen. Again, with what evidence do you have for this bad thing will happen, and chunk down into more concrete criteria and facts. I am scared of this. These things shouldn't be happening because. What is your evidence? Whenever you spot something that doesn't belong to your thinking, something that you think that I like this, but you don't even know where it comes from, just elaborate. Is there not a better way of seeing my life? Could there not be a better way of thinking about my life, about myself, about what I can accomplish? That is a simple message clarifying what holds you stuck and how could you put into question the things that used to limit you. Many people don't have your best interest at heart when they want to condition you. Many people don't even want to cause any bad, but they are just so scared themselves that they will project that fear onto you. And if you don't sometimes put a shield and like distance yourself from those influences, you may just stay as low as the lowest people you met in your life. I would encourage, if possible, to elevate and to get past and away from that rather than just staying there forever. If you want to develop your skills with unlocking people mentally with those beliefs, those false assumptions, you have a document down below called The 7 Steps to Master Sleight of Mouth. It is just a hierarchy one by one of the, let's say, the simplest version up to the most complex version of how can you use language to unlock people mentally and help them make choices of their own by themselves rather than obeying the choices that have been planted into their head, sometimes even without their consent or without their full agreement.